Denmark here. This is another Just for Fun video. I think it was last week I showed you one of the Danish comfort food dishes that we have made a lot in our family called svensk pølsegrød or svensk pølseret. And this is a dish that was the very first dish my husband ever made for me. Now let me just warn you, my husband is not good in the kitchen. My husband is fantastic at a lot of things, but cooking isn't his thing, and he kind of leaves that to me. But when we were first kind of courting back in Luxembourg, when we both worked at the European Court of Justice, he made this dish for me. And if you are, if you're a gourmet cook and whatever, remember, look away now because this is not for you. This is Danish comfort food. And I'll tell you where he got the recipe, because he got these books when he was a student in Aarhus University, when he was about 19, 20 years old. And he got those from his mum. And these cookbooks, you'll see them here, they're called Carolina's Køkken. There's a whole series of them, and if you are Danish, you will know these books. These are kind of classics. They used to issue one every year. I don't think they do that anymore. But it's a bit like when I was growing up in Scotland, and I still have it. My mum had the Biro book. Now the Biro book is from Biro flour, and inside you get all the recipes. And I took this Biro book from Mum and Dad's house when I first left home, like 30 years ago. And I still consult the Biro book because, like, Mum and I, on a Sunday afternoon, when Mum was making dinner, in those days, before you switched on the oven, you would always be like, well, you're not just going to switch on the oven to put one dish in. We're all about saving electricity. So we'd always make like a pudding. It would normally be Eve's pudding or a jam roll or something like that. Or some kind of Victoria sponge. So I had stuff in my Biro book. Anyway, my husband had these Carolina's Køkken books, and this is where he got the recipe that he made for me. Now, I'll tell you what it's called in Danish. Let me just see. Yeah, it is this one. Okay, it's in this one. You can see this one is kind of falling apart and a bit splashed, but hey, that's the sign of a good cookbook that you've used. Okay, now you can see the dish here. Oksekød i fyld. Now, oksekød i fyld means okse is beef, and fyld or fad, you pronounce it fyld, oksekød i fyld means a dish. And when my husband made it for me, he made it in my apartment. He was looking for a dish like this, and I didn't have one like that, but I had, a Pyrex bowl. And ever since then we have called it, because I like alliteration, beef in a bowl. So instead of oksekød i fyld, we call it beef in a bowl. Now, we use a different dish for making it now, but that's what we call it. So anyway, if you want to know how to make beef in a bowl, feel free to join me. Let's just put it this way, it is not culinary highlight of your year, but it's tasty, and it's one of these things, it's a bit like cottage pie, shepherd's pie. Doesn't look fantastic, but it tastes good, and it's easy peasy to make, and I'll show you how to make it. It's not really a recipe as such, it's not complicated at all, but anyway, I thought just for fun I'll show you how to make it, because we're having it tonight. First of all, let me just wash my hands. I've already started it, but let me wash my hands again because those books are a bit dusty. And in a way it's a bit like, in Scotland we have mince and tatties, which is minced beef, with a wee bit of stock and pepper, and then potatoes on the side. And it doesn't look fantastic, but it's good, honest food, and that's one of our national dishes. Mince and tatties, or stovies, another thing. Doesn't look pretty, but it's good. Anyway, I'll show you what I've got in the pot. First of all, just chop up an onion. I've also I had a couple of parsnips that I added as well. You're going to take about 50 grams or a really good couple of spoonfuls of oil, margarine, whatever you want. It's just something to fry up. And I like to use Cairngorm, that's like spreadable Lurpak. And that's what I've used. And then once you've got that heating, you put in about 1 or 2 tablespoons of paprika, not hot stuff, this is just the kind of basic stuff, you can use tons of it. And you kind of fry that off, the paprika, in the butter. And then you add in a chopped onion, and as I said, I've added a chopped onion and a couple of parsnips. And then you put in your, like 500 grams, what's that? It's like a pound, it's a half pound, I can't remember the old imperial measure, it doesn't matter. It doesn't say here either. But you know, a package of minced beef, ground beef. And you're just going to fry that up. And up until this stage, it just looks like, you know, making something for, as I said, cottage pie, shepherd's pie, something like that. Now, here's where the twist in the recipe comes. Oksekød. You're going to add ketchup. And not just a couple of spoons, you're going to add, let me see, I just eyeball it now, but I'll show you how much. Because in the recipe it says 1 deciliter, so that is 100 mils. Let me just see if I've got my jug so I can tell you in cups. Let me see, 100 mils, it's about, I would say, a bit more than 1/3 of a cup of ketchup, so that is a lot of ketchup. So you might want to use ketchup that doesn't have so much sugar, salt in it. And let me see if I can just get you a wee bit closer. And I told you, it's not a fancy thing, this. So you'll add your ketchup, and it's a lot of ketchup. I'm just eyeballing it, but there we go. There we are. See that? Yeah, lots of ketchup in there. And then we're just going to let it cook a wee bit. Just heat it through. And you'll want to taste it, you know, see if you need to add a wee bit more salt and pepper. And as usual, I've got my, you know, I love my gadgets. This is my salt that lights up and sounds a bit like Star Wars, one of the X-Fighters. Okay. And then same with the pepper. Here we go again. Right. Plenty of pepper. My Danish father-in-law, he loves pepper. Right. And I'm just going to turn that down, and we're just going to kind of let it sit a wee bit and let the flavours mingle. Not that there's much in there, but there you go. And when I make this now, you know, you can add any veggies that you've got. You know, if you've got some red pepper, I've got some roasted red peppers, I could have added that. You know, grated carrots, you know, some courgettes, zucchini, whatever you've got to use up in your kitchen. And then we're going to put it into a bowl or a dish. Let me just get one out. Okay, I'm going to put it into this one today. And then we are going to top it like, you know, cottage pie, shepherd's pie. And normally these days when I make it, I would, you know, make my own and just boil up some potatoes, add some milk and butter and make a good mash.ってtoday I'm making it the way that my husband made it for me, which is instant mashed potato. And it's funny because when I was small, we never really had, Mum never really used instant mashed potato. There was a product called Smash in the UK. Do you remember for mash, get smashed? But we never really had a lot of instant mashed potato at home. it's only something that I've kind of seen a lot since I moved home, and then I started using it, you know, if it was in a fix that's very fast. And we had a case at the Court of Justice, I think it's called Flylady. It's a German producer. And I found out that mashed potato isn't just mashed potato, there are different types of mashed potato, and some of them are actually made from like real potatoes where they extract the water, and other ones are made of, you know, glue and fluff from the floor and all those weird things. So it's good to maybe check the mashed potato that you're using and see what's actually in there. And this one is from Nor. Let me just see if I can see it with my eyes. This one has 85% of potato, so that's not bad. Anyway, I'm just doing it to show you today. This is how my husband made it. Let me just redo the kettle. I have that all set up. Move this to the side. Hold on so you can see. Right, and I'll tell you what, I'll just use this bowl to make up my mashed potato. This one can go away. And if anybody's still got their bureau books, let me know, because I love to kind of go down memory lane and look at the old bureau recipes. You know, because I've decluttered most of my cookbooks now, because most of the things that you know, if I'm looking for a recipe, I can find it online. Hold on, this is paper recycling. But I've got some cookbooks that I keep. Just get my whisk. And I keep all my Nigella Lawson ones because I like to read those. I think they look nice, and I just like the atmosphere, and they're very hoogly to read. But as I say, most recipes now, the recipes that I make, it's either something that I've been making for years and years. I mean, I'm 50 years old now. Or it's something new that I want to try, and then I kind of, you know, Google the recipe and find something and make up my own version of it. Right, so here we go with the instant mashed potato. And while I let that sit, hold on, and combine, I'll get my mix. Tell you what, let's just get the oven going. So I'm sure this is not the first dish that your husband or better half or significant other made for you. If anybody else got Oksekød, please let me know. That smells good. And we hardly ever eat this now, because thankfully the kids have got a bit more expanded tastes now that they're a bit older, but that would just make it for fun. I get to lick the spoon. You know what, there's something very reassuring about the flavour of ketchup. Right, oh, because the other thing that I love is Heinz tomato soup. That's another thing from my childhood, that you can't beat Heinz tomato soup. And I love ketchup flavoured crisps. The Heinz, they're really difficult to get here, but occasionally I can find them, and that's my little guilty pleasure. Right, and remember, you know, if you're using this kind of mashed potato, go ahead and add some butter, add some herbs, you know, make it a bit more interesting. But I'm just going to use, I'll add a wee splash of milk. Or shall I add more butter? Nah, I'll leave as is. We're doing it plain and simple today. Right, let's get this on the top. And what I'll do is I'll put it in the oven. And normally, you know, you could make this up the day before, or make it up in the morning and then just heat it in the evening. When you put it in the oven, you know, if it's cooled down, it'll take about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And I would say about 200 centigrade, which is what, 400 Fahrenheit. There we are. Just spread it out, make it look very rustic. Oh, and the other thing that my husband made that evening was a pear tart, and it was using tinned pears, and actually it tasted quite nice, and good job to him for actually cooking for me. Let me just get a knife so I can get the rest of this out. And the pear tart, if I'm not mistaken, and this is all going to go, I'm going to do a pooper immediately. Hold on, let me just get this in the oven. If I'm not mistaken, the pear tart is also in here. Terde, the pear. Okay, page 44. So there we are. Pear tart. And that's kind of what it looked like, so go him for making an effort to make me pear tart. And I think actually he made the dough from scratch, which is pretty impressive for somebody who doesn't cook. Anyway, I'm going to put it in for a couple of minutes, just so you can see the finished thing. And I'll stop the camera here because there's no point in you watching while I put these things in the dishwasher. And then just in the flick of a switch and in the glimpse of an eye, you will see what it looks like. So just hold on, stay tuned, don't go anywhere. Woohoo, we're back. Okay, I've done a pooper, picked up everything and put it away, washed it. And I don't know if you notice, table is already set for tonight because whoever is last out of the house in the morning unloads the dishwasher, which today was my DS18. So dinner table is set because when we unload the dishwasher, instead of putting plates, here back in the drawers again, I just get the kids to reset it, for whatever the next meal is, and that way it's done and it keeps other things going on the kitchen table. Anyway, normally I would leave this in the oven for a wee bit longer, but I will be heating up for the family later. But let me just get a wee spoon, and you could add, put some cheese on the top, do whatever you like with it, but basically it's not a fancy dish. I mean, it's called beef in a bowl, for goodness sake. But as I said, we've been eating it in our family ever since my lovely DH made it for me all those years ago. That would be, let me see, 22, gosh, I need to check out, let me see, 1994, many years ago. Just have it drop. And when you heat it up, you will see that it'll start to kind of bubble from underneath. Okay, I'll take a wee bit more just so you can see. So you've got, can you see that? It's kind of orangey on the outside. And listen, you don't need to leave a comment saying it looks disgusting or you would never eat it, because I know it's not a gourmet thing. But anyway, I'm just going to have a wee taste, just to check, just to make sure it's all right for the family. Gosh, it's hot. You know what, there are some things that are just really comforting, things that you've eaten for many years. And it's not fancy, but you know what, it fills your tummy. I'll just have a wee drop more. And a lot of the times, it's also the memories associated with it. Anyway, if you've got some fun cookbooks like this, let me know. I think I've got this one, and as I said, most of my cookbooks are gone now. I only keep the ones that I really, find it hoogly to read. I don't keep the ones that I look at like once in a blue moon, because I'd much rather keep the ones I'm really sentimental about. Anyway, that's it for me. Diane in Denmark, as usual, live long and prosper. May the hygge be with you. And let me know if you try some oksekød i fad, beef in a bowl. How more Danish can you get? And I shall see you very soon. Okay, bye for now.